Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video, and today I want to take a moment to talk about some of the major changes coming to the game at various points this year. Earlier this week, Bungie released a development blog post detailing some of the main changes they intend to implement at various points this year, all in an attempt to improve the overall game experience and player experience, and give us more meaningful things to do and go after. And while yes, a lot of this stuff most definitely should have been present from day one, this is also the most transparent Bungie have been in a long time, and it is their attempt to try and be as open as possible about their plans for development going forward. There is a lot of stuff to go over here, so instead of just reading through the entire blog post, I thought I'd group up the most important points and cover 10 changes coming to Destiny 2 in 2018 and share my thoughts on the various topics as we go. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys think of all of these. Now, kicking things off at number 1, let's talk Eververse. Obviously everybody's least favourite aspect of the game, and rightly so given that far too much content is gated behind the bright engram loot boxes. Well, it seems that Bungie has heard our complaints on this topic and they do intend to address this. To begin with, they said, quote unquote, "We recognise that the scales are tipped too far towards TES at the moment, and Eververse was never intended to be a substitute for endgame content and rewards, so we'll be making 3 changes for upcoming seasons." Those 3 changes are as follows. They are shifting the balance of new content in favour of activity rewards over bright engrams, and that includes ghosts, sparrows and ships, which are right now only found in bright engrams. These will also be added to achievement reward pools. Now, they haven't specified exactly where just yet, but the fact that it will very soon be possible to earn some of those items outside of bright engrams goes one step towards removing tests from the mandatory equation. They're also going to provide gameplay paths to earn bright engrams and all the contained rewards, and this also applies to event engrams too, meaning you'll be able to obtain them in ways other than just mindlessly grinding XP for your next rank up. And finally, they want to give players more direct purchase options and make adjustments to bright engrams to allow players to get the items they want more often. Now, this final point is rather interesting. I appreciate microtransactions are never a popular topic to discuss, but something worth noting is that microtransactions have been around for a very long time, way before they were seen in this hugely negative light. I think back to MMOs, way before games like Destiny even existed. The notion of cash shops existed to sell largely cosmetic items, but the reasons those had minimal player impact weren't just because the items were cosmetic, but it's because they offered direct purchase options. If you wanted to buy a fancy hat for your character, or a shiny looking pony, or like a cape or something like that, you didn't have to buy 50 loot boxes and pray. You instead just purchased the item you wanted and you were done with it. That then allowed players that wanted those items to go after them without having to sink stupid amounts of money into what is essentially gambling. And while yes, if you can obtain those items in game it is far better, if you're going to sell something, then at least do so through direct purchase because it's far better than random loot boxes. So to that point, in Destiny 2, if they change the system so that you could then just go and buy that exotic ghost show you wanted as opposed to having to buy 50 bright engrams, that is a considerable improvement. Again, it would be far better if you can just earn it in game, and that is of course one of the methods they are going towards, but at least offering direct purchase removes the need to gamble with your money. That being said, they didn't say that they are removing bright engrams altogether, so I wouldn't be surprised if outside of that, as a means to try and give players more of what they wanted, they perhaps offer categorized engrams. Like maybe you could buy a ghost bright engram for a better chance at an exotic ghost, or a sparrow engram, I don't know, something like that. They haven't said just yet, but either way, while they clearly have no intention of removing Eververse altogether, if they can at least improve the economy and remove the need to visit tests, then we should be looking at a better experience moving forward. In line with this, for the Crimson Days event that kicks off on February 13th, that is the Valentine's Day event for Destiny, with that you'll see some more of these changes being introduced. Completing Nightfalls, Raids and Crimson Days milestones will reward you with an exclusive legendary emote, a weapon skin and an exotic sparrow respectively. You'll also earn double engrams on level up, 1 Crimson Days engram and 1 Illuminated engram, so you can get event specific rewards and more general items. The Crimson engrams will also drop from completing Crimson Days matches and milestones per characters, and each Crimson engram is more strongly weighted towards new rewards when decrypted. So again, this should help people get items that are more meaningful. Should being the key word here, but only time will tell. Now, moving on from there to number 2, Masterwork Armor. This is a change scheduled to hit the game in the January the 30th update, so we're a little way off, but essentially the Masterwork system originally introduced for weapons is now being moved over to Armor as well. Masterwork's armor will provide increased damage reduction while using your super, and much like weapons, it can both drop or be upgraded to if you have enough cores. Now, in truth, this doesn't really excite me a great deal because I feel like the problems with armor and armor variety run far deeper. Having armor whilst my super is active hasn't really been a big problem for me. I was personally hoping that the Masterwork system would allow more control over, say, mobility, resilience and recovery, since hunters are often jibbed on this front. And while it's possible there are other perks, they haven't shown us these just yet. So right now, based on the limited information we have, this one doesn't drastically jump out at me. Sure, it's nice to have something else to work towards, yeah, definitely, but I feel the Masterwork system as a whole still needs a lot more work before it's really something worth pursuing. That being said, that does segue quite nicely into point number 3, which is Mods 2.0. Now this is a change slated for a February update, so a little further out right now, but to quote the blog post, work is underway on a full rework of armor and weapon mods. This will focus on reducing redundant mods, more unique theming, and greatly increasing their impact on your power. We are aiming for a February release, but the scope of the rework could push parts or all of it out till early spring. We will be evaluating how mods play into the bright engram economy as a result, because we're sensitive to pay to win outcomes. Now, there is already mention earlier in the blog post on raid specific mods, and I'll speak more on that in a moment when we speak about the raid rewards, but this is a potentially interesting update. The mod system in Destiny 2 is cool, but again, it is nowhere near perfect. A lot of the mods are mediocre at best, and this simply results in a handful of useful options, which you pile into all your gear and weapons and you then forget about them. Thinking back to how Destiny 1 weapons and armor used to have interesting perks that helped in different encounters or content, allowing mods to fill this void would be really good. The mention of raid specific mods is an example. Right now, there's really no need to grind for raid gear since it offers nothing that other gear doesn't already. However, being able to get raid specific mods with useful bonuses, imagine if you got, say, increased armor while holding the crystal in the dog's room, so that way when you're getting shot, you take less damage. Maybe increased mobility while carrying an orb in the gauntlet, or increased damage to skulls when in the other dimension in Callus's throne room. Stuff like that would be really awesome. Again, right now we have no details on their plans for this other than the fact they are working on it, but hopefully once we get close to February, we will find out more. So, moving on from there to number 4, a rework to raid rewards. Bungie's plan is to rework the raid rewards to make them more interesting and unique. I already mentioned in passing the raid mods, but essentially rewards will now feature raid mods with raid specific perks, and they're also adjusting the encounters to ensure each major encounter guarantees a raid drop. And that in itself is good. There's nothing more demoralizing than completing an encounter only to get a few tokens and nothing else to show for it. And on the topic of tokens, the raid vendor is also going to directly sell Leviathan and Eater of Worlds raid gear and weapons in exchange for tokens and shards. So again, you won't need to open a random engram in the hope of getting an item only to find you get your 75th auto rifle instead. When the update goes live, you'll be able to buy select pieces. I'm unsure whether they will all be there or whether they'll rotate weekly, but either way, that is a good move. Also, they're going to be adding a new ghost with raid specific perks that has a chance to drop from Leviathan and Eater of World final encounters, and they plan to create more unique raid rewards further down the line. In at number 5, we have Ranked Crucible, something people have been asking for a very, very long time. This is a little further off, slated for a spring 2018 update, so a little vague right now, but in short, Crucible is going to be getting a ranking system and it comes in 2 parts. Beginning in Season 3, so likely coinciding with the next DLC, you will have Valor and Glory. Valor is a progression rank that simply goes up as you complete matches. Winning gives you more points, but there are no loss penalties. So this is just like a level to show how much you play the Crucible, and everyone will gradually move up. Meanwhile, Glory is the progression rank that goes up and down, and this is the one that will matter to Crucible players out there. Wins will move you up, losses will move you down, so if you want to show that you are the best of the best, your Glory rank will be what matters. However, that's not all. Moving over to number 6, there are more Crucible changes planned. Again, as part of the spring update, private matches will finally be making a return, allowing you to host your own games with your own rules. They also have plans to reintroduce the long-requested 6v6 mode that Destiny 1 had. While 4v4 fits their competitive vision, it isn't always as fun as a chaotic 6v6 match, so that will be making a return. Following on from the positive reception to Mayhem, that'll also be returning in Season 3 as a timed event. And much later in the year, fall to be precise, they plan to bring Rumble back as well. I'm not sure why it's taken so long to bring that back, but that is still planned for the fall updates. In at number 7, on the topic of strikes. First up, strike scoring is coming back, and it's going to be replacing the current Nightfall time limit mechanic. The scoring will be similar to Destiny 1 with some adjustments to try and emphasize competitive execution of the strike objectives. Then in February, the Nightfall high scores will be exposed via in-game emblems, and those will also unlock rewards. So whereas in Destiny 1, when strike scoring was introduced, it had little value, it seems this time high scores will actually result in rewards, which will give people a reason to get better at the Nightfalls. They also have plans for clan and community high scores too, and in addition to that, in the spring update, they plan to add heroic modifiers to the heroic strike playlist. Again, in truth, that should have been there from day one, but at least it's coming. Number 8 is Vault Space. They are aiming to add an additional 50 slots to player vaults in spring, but they said they don't believe adding more space is the sole solution. They're working on other changes to reduce the load on your vault, plus they'll be adding an exotic accessory tab so your exotic ships, sparrows and ghosts can all go there. In number 9, we have better endgame pursuits. To quote the blog post, we agree with your feedback on the imbalance between achievement and bright endgame rewards, and we'll be making adjustments to shift more rewards into specific endgame pursuits instead of generic XP grinding for bright engrams. We're excited to share the details as soon as we have them worked out. This one is a little vague right now, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed because there needs to be something more exciting to grind for, to spend your time doing, than we have right now. And finally, in at number 10, a quick few mentions. There's more in the blog post than I called out, so I have linked the entire thing down below if you guys want to read it all. But as a super quick high level, a few other things they have planned for the spring update and the fall updates include improvements to Iron Banner and faction rallies, playlist repetition reduction to prevent players doing the same activities back to back, the long-awaited multi-emote slot so you can customize all 4 directions, a balancing pass on exotic weapons and armor, seasonal reputation, better clan rewards, improvements to trials, guided games, and more importantly, addressing weapon slot and archetype improvements. That final one is really important because the new weapon slot system in Destiny 2, the way we essentially carry 2 primary weapons and a heavy, it's just not exciting as it used to be, and weapons like snipers have been rendered almost redundant. So if they revisit those and shuffle those around and shuffle how they work, or where they belong, we could be looking at more exciting gunplay. But for the time being, that's pretty much it. So what do I think of all of this? Well, I'm a largely positive person. It's just who I am, and as someone that has worked in the games industry in the past and understands what goes on behind the scenes, I always like to give developers the benefit of the doubt where possible. Plus, I'm also someone that just plays a lot of games, so if something isn't exciting me at that given moment, instead of getting frustrated, I just play something else and come back when I feel like it. But, that being said, I will say, we should never have been in this position in the first place. All of this stuff, all of these changes should have been there on September 6th when Destiny 2 launched, and this blog post should have instead spoken about what new, never before seen stuff they plan to bring to the table. The fact that we went through 3 years of gradual improvements in Destiny 1 only to do the same thing again with Destiny 2 does suck, there's no denying that. I will say, if you never played Destiny 2 or you waited to jump in, then playing the game with all of this stuff in place will provide a much more enjoyable experience, much like how Division with the recent 1.8 update now offers players infinitely more value than was present at launch. I do think Destiny 2 will gradually get better, and I do feel like once again we will get to a point where it's bringing new stuff to the table, but that is going to be a gradual process. If you're not happy to wait for that to happen, then that's completely cool and you're well within your right to just move on. But I for one am still keen as ever to see where this journey goes and have every intention to continue to follow and play Destiny throughout the year and bring content to you guys. So for the time being, that is pretty much it from me. As always, share your thoughts down below, let me know what you guys think, but thank you very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.